Welcome back. Tonight we're stepping away from the noise of the world and into the quiet corners of the unknown. We have gathered 3 real-life stories that remain unsolved to this day, mysteries that linger like a soft mist over the landscape. Whether you're settling in for the night, finishing up your chores, or just need a moment of calm reflection, let these stories carry you away. Find a comfortable spot, dim the lights, and let's begin. Story 1. The Disappearance of the Flannan Isles Keepers. In December of 1900, on a remote group of islands off the coast of Scotland known as the Flannan Isles, something happened that still defies explanation. The islands are rugged and lonely, home to a single lighthouse on the highest point of Eileen Moor. 3 men were stationed there to keep the light burning: James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. They were experienced men, used to the isolation and the harsh winds of the North Atlantic. On the night of December 15th, a passing steamer noticed that the lighthouse's great lamp was dark. This was unusual, but due to bad weather, a relief ship didn't arrive until days later. When the relief keeper, Joseph Moore, stepped onto the island, he felt an immediate sense of unease. The island was silent. No one came down to greet him. He climbed the steep stairs to the lighthouse. The door was unlocked. Inside, he found a scene of eerie stillness. A set of oilskins, the heavy waterproof coats the men wore, remained, hanging on their hooks. This was strange. Why would the men go out into a storm without their protective gear? In the kitchen, a meal sat untouched on the table. A chair had been knocked over. The clocks had stopped, but of the 3 keepers there was no sign. The official logbook provided the final chilling clues. The last entries described a storm of terrifying intensity, a storm so powerful it made the veteran keepers weep and pray. Yet records from the mainland showed that the weather in the area had been calm during those days. The storm seemed to exist only at the lighthouse. To this day, no bodies have ever been recovered. Some say they were swept away by a freak wave. Others believe something more inexplicable occurred on that lonely rock. The light eventually returned to the Flannan Isles, but the mystery of the 3 men remains as deep and cold as the sea itself. Story 2. The Mystery of the Somerton Man. On a warm morning in December 1948, a man was found resting against a seawall on Somerton Beach in Australia. He looked as though he were merely sleeping. He was dressed in a high-quality suit. His shoes were polished, and his face was freshly shaven. But the man was dead, and he carried no identification. Every label on his clothing had been meticulously cut away. He had no wallet, no cash, and no passport. In his pocket, investigators found a bus ticket, a comb, and a small scrap of paper hidden in a secret pocket of his trousers. On the paper were the words, Tamam Shud, which means ended, or finished in Persian. This scrap had been torn from a very rare book of poetry. When the police eventually found the exact book the paper came from, they discovered a series of faint pencil markings on the back cover, a code that has never been broken, even by the world's best military cryptographers. Beside the code was a phone number belonging to a local nurse. When questioned, she seemed terrified and denied knowing the man, though witnesses said she nearly fainted when she saw a plaster cast of his face. Who was he? A spy? A man caught in a tragic romance? For over 70 years, his identity remained a complete void. Thousands of leads were followed, but they all led to dead ends. Even though modern DNA testing has recently suggested a name for the man, the circumstances of his life, his coded message, and why he chose to die on that beach in a suit with no labels remain a haunting puzzle. He is a ghost from another era, resting in a grave that for decades simply read, The Unknown Man. Story 3. The Ghost Ship of the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste was a sturdy brigantine sailing from New York to Italy in November 1872. On board were Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their young daughter, and a crew of 7. They were experienced sailors, and the ship was in excellent condition. A month later, another ship, the Dei Gratia, spotted the Mary Celeste drifting in the middle of the Atlantic. The sails were slightly torn, but the ship was perfectly seaworthy. When the crew of the Dei Gratia climbed aboard, they expected to find a bustling deck. Instead, they found a ghost ship. The Mary Celeste was completely deserted. There were no signs of a struggle. The crew's belongings were neatly tucked away in their quarters. The ship's cargo, over 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, was almost entirely intact. There was plenty of food and water for 6 months. The last entry in the logbook was dated 10 days earlier. It noted nothing out of the ordinary, yet the lifeboat was missing. It appeared as if 10 people had simply vanished in an instant. Why would an experienced captain abandon a perfectly sound ship in the middle of the ocean? If they had feared an explosion from the alcohol fumes, why was there no evidence of fire? If they were attacked by pirates, why was the cargo untouched? For over a century, theories have ranged from waterspouts to sea monsters, but the truth likely left with the crew. The Mary Celeste was towed to port and eventually sailed again, but she carried a reputation of being cursed. To this day, the image of that empty ship, sails fluttering in the wind, remains the ultimate symbol of the mysteries the ocean keeps hidden. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. These stories remind us that even in a world of answers, there are still whispers of the unknown. If you enjoyed these tales, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel for more quiet mysteries. I'd love to hear your theories in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and sleep well.